Welcome to the Alpha Mind podcast with Mark Randall and Stephen Goldstein. In the past, we have spoken to many veteran traders about their journey through their trading careers and the lessons and learnings they experienced along the way. Today, we are talking to someone much closer to the start of their trading career, Jacob Holm of stoic Trading, who is relatively new to the world of trading, though, as you will hear, he has a wise and very mature sounding head on those relatively young shoulders. This conversation allows us to get much closer to the evolutionary stages of a trader's career. Nonetheless, we think traders of all levels will be able to relate to much of what Jacob talks about, including both the early stage frustrations and the joy of each small progressive step made along the way. First, we would like to thank our podcast sponsorship partners, without whose support this show would not be possible, the Society of Technical Analysts, the STA. They are a member-led and not-for-profit body who have been providing world-beating education to the trading and investment community for over 5 decades and serve the needs of their members by providing outstanding online talks and webinars, regular newsletters, education, diplomas and continued professional development programs. Their home study course has been created by many of the world's leading minds in technical analysis and provides learning of a depth and breadth that is unparalleled in the trading and investing world. Listeners to the Alpha Mind podcast can obtain a 10% discount on the cost of the STA home study course. Visit alpha-mind.net and go to the sponsor section of our page to find out how to obtain this. Now, on with this week's podcast.
Well, welcome to this week's Alpha Mind podcast, and we're delighted to have Jacob Holm with us, who's co-founder of stoic. For those of you that are Latin scholars like Steve and I, that translates into meaning balance. And we're really interested to understand his story, perhaps a bit of a non-standard sort of journey compared to the sort of people we have on the show normally, and someone that I guess is relatively young into the game, but is looking at the market through perhaps an automated trading lens, but also, trying to build up his knowledge and broaden it into a strategy that, has essentially launched a business on the back of it. So we're really interested to know, where that story began, what drove you in that story, what was sort of the purpose behind you getting into what you're doing today, Jacob. So welcome to the show, and perhaps just go back in time a bit. Just tell us where this interest in markets and trading sort of all began, and perhaps that the journey and sort of the challenges you faced as you started that journey.
Sure. Thank you very much for the introduction, Mark. It's a pleasure to be here. So it all began, if you go all the way back, it started when I was 14 years old. So when I was 14 years old, I actually got my very first stock. My parents bought it for me. And it was in the local bank that I got this stock in. And that's after that, I really started, okay, what is this stock thing about, right? And I started to read in the local newspaper and follow this stock going up and down. And I started to understand the numbers. And that's when my big passion for investing really started. And then, during the years, I started to get into more and more into long-term investing. Then later on, I met a friend who I still have to this day, who told me, well, okay, you are investing, but I'm trading. We spoke to this party together, and then all of a sudden, during the night, after many hours of speaking, he has kind of introduced me to this thing called forex trading. And then, I all of a sudden experienced, okay, you can actually do something else than only long-term investing. You can also do trading. And that was back in the end of 2015. And that's when I really got into forex trading. And when I started out there, I was totally new to this phenomenon of trading, right? Like active trading. But I started out manually trading. And then I started in 16 and has been trading ever since. But I think I went through all the stages and challenges that many people go through, right? You start out and you're really excited, and I'm still excited to this day, right? But there's so many challenges on the way before you actually reach a point where you can say, okay, now it's actually starting to make a little bit sense what I'm doing, right? And doing all these years since 2015, I've tried many different kind of strategies, especially on the manual side of trading. Been through all the emotions, ups and downs, and working every single day on it, and just being frustrated and then being elated, and going through all these steps, right, until today, where I'm in a quite good place with my manual trading, but especially also since I moved to today, I do just as much automated trading to this day. And as you said, Mark, we have me and my co-founder has launched a business with our automated trading, which is called, as you said, Statera Trading.
Excellent. Well, look, it's a pleasure to have you on. I think if we go back in time again, because I'm still going to be in the past slightly in this conversation.
Yeah.
What sort of do you think was the biggest lesson that you learned on that journey?
That's a really good question, and I would say, when I think about it, I would divide it up in two, because for me, to trading, that there's more, but overall in general, there's two main aspects to it, right? There's, on one side of it, there is the mental part, the mindset of trading, right? On the other side of it, you got the technical part. That means it doesn't matter if you're trading with automated systems or manual trading, but basically that's the strategy you use to get an edge in the market, right? In terms of the technical side of the things, when you started out, you think trading is something that the main challenge was that, for me, and something I would say to everybody who was starting out or about to start out, or just in the first or second year, I had that expectation that this could be something that will work out in 1 or 2 or 3 years. And yes, that might work for some, but in my mind, that's not the right mindset to go into this industry with. Because for many people, it takes 5 years, 7 years, 10 years before they actually see what they actually started out for. And if I had gone into trading with that mindset, that it was not just something for the next year or 2 years or 3 years, and then I will be quote unquote successful, then I would have been free for so many of those kind of harmful emotions that you get. And then instead, just focus on, it sounds like a cliche, but instead focus really on the process and not the outcome. So that's on the mindset part. On the technical side of things, the big challenge was finding a strategy that fits your personality, right? Because it's so easy to get lured into this shiny ball syndrome, where you jump from one strategy to another strategy, and then you don't really figure out what's right for you. I think this is a great experience, and I wouldn't have been without these experience, because it's all learning, right? But still, at the same time, you have to really keep focus on, okay, don't go after the shiny ball all the time, but try to figure out what fits your personality. And when I first found the kind of trading that fitted my personality, that's when things started to click for me.
So Jacob, really great introduction, and great to hear you saying so much that talks to myself and Mark about the things we always like like to emphasize.
Yeah.
Really curious about how did you find what suited your personality? Because that's always a huge challenge for people.
Yeah. That's another great question. And I would say, even though that I just said that, try to avoid this and that, I would say it's never, you will never regret that you have tried different strategies, because basically that is the way to find what fits your personality. If you haven't tried XYZ strategy, then you really don't know if it fits your personality, right? And that's also where the mindset comes in, because you have to be prepared that this will take time. It doesn't just come overnight or after the first year, because you can only learn by experience and putting in a lot of work. So on your conscious mind, you have to put in this work in order for your subconscious later down the line to actually work as you want it to work. So try a lot of things out. because if you don't have that mindset that this will work in the next week or the next month, it doesn't matter if it takes 1, 2, 3, 5 years. Like, as long as you're learning and growing, that's how you find what really works for you.
Okay, but I mean, in terms of that question, what did you try? Lots of different methods and styles, and find that some of them weren't compatible with you, and then you started to settle on something, or did it just grab you?
No, I tried it. I would not say a lot, but I've tried different strategies, especially in terms of, it has always been technical trading. So looking at charts, not focusing too much on macro trading, for instance, but it has always been technical trading. But the differences has been in, okay, has it been, for instance, price action trading? Has it been pattern trading? Has it been on the daily time frame, or has it been on the hourly time frame, or even the minutes time frames? So these kind of things I have tried out for extended periods of times, each of them, right? And it's, I would say, when people ask me also, okay, so which one worked, better? I would say many of them works if you keep at it and if it fits into your daily life. Because what I found out is that I don't want trading to to rule how I should live my life. I want to rule how trading is going for me in the opposite way, right? So it has to fit in how I want to live my life as well. So it's all about trying different things and then experience what works for you in this situation you are in your life.
Right. Okay. So you're both a technical trader and a systematic trader. Um, would that be a fair description?
That is very fair. So I've been trading, as I said, since I started. I started out with manual trading, and
Right.
even though today I lean towards automation and automated systems, and that's because that's what we do. I still have that. It's kind of like, I would say, imagine a football player, for the American listeners, a soccer player, as we say in Europe. Even though that they might stop professional football, they will still have the passion for football and might go out for five-a-side game or something like that. It's still like that for me. I can't leave it because I'm so passionate about trading. I love it. I love the process and the learning and the growing you get from it. At the same time, I've seen automated trading, how much that have benefited not just my results, but also my whole manual trading part of things. So I found, actually, I was a little bit afraid that when I went to automated trading, that it would kind of ruin my manual trading and I'll lose my passion for it. And that didn't happen at all. Rather, it improved my manual trading because my mindset improved from using automated systems, actually. So it benefited my manual trading as well.
And how quickly did you move over to automated trading, or start to look into that angle?
So actually, I was actually into automated trading. I got familiar with it before I actually started manual trading. So I started manual trading in 2015, but I was
Hmm.
already exposed to systematic trading in 2014, where I actually, when I was a long-term investor, I got a little bit into this hype, YouTube and stuff, and then I saw this, you could buy this automated trading system, and you can just hook it up to the person who sold it, and then you'll trade it, right? So that's when I first got exposed to it, and since then I started using it myself, and then I started to research it and use it and then dig into it on the side. But then I went to manual trading, and that took up all my time, and I just did the systematic trading on the side and did a little bit of research here and there. But when it really got serious with automated trading was what was probably like, as I said, since 2014 I've been doing it kind of, but then when it really got more or less full on was like 2.5 years ago, I think.
We will return to the episode in a second. We just want to let you know of a one-day conference on the 18th of April in London called Technicals to Trading Systems. This event is being run by our sponsoring partner, the Society of Technical Analysis, the STA. This is open to finance professionals working in funds, banks, prop firms, asset management firms, commodity and energy trading firms, and research shops, as well as to serious-minded retail traders and anyone interested in systematic and quantitative trading and analysis. If you're in London, the UK or Europe, this is a great opportunity to hear some great speakers and to learn from them. It is also an excellent chance to meet and network with like-minded individuals. To find out more and to register for this event, go to the STA website at technicalanalysts.com. Now back to the podcast. Okay, and are you doing it in the foreign exchange markets, or are you moving beyond that?
Yes, me and my business partner are mainly doing it in the forex markets, but we also trade, for instance, DAX and oil and gold. So
Right.
that's just a little bit other instruments that we also trade. Just because for us we are kind of like we don't really. We're not too strict about what we trade, because as long as it works with our automated systems, then it doesn't matter if it's called X, Y, and Z. If all our data show it works, then we're happy with that.
How would you describe your philosophy to taking risk?
To taking risk, our philosophy is like we keep it very low risk. We have a specific set point for our automated system that for each trade we go into, we will only risk this amount and never more than that. And we always have, in terms of our risk, we always use stop losses on our trades. So to be specific, in our specifically our automated systems only ever risk 0.3% per trade. And
Yeah.
no matter what instrument we trade, we always have a stop loss. So whenever we reach that 0.3%, we out.
Right. Okay. And what about the number of trades you can have on at one time? Is that automated? Is that managed? Are there rules around that?
Yeah. So we don't use any rule for that. We don't have any maximum. We know from our back testing approximately how many trades will be on. Over those 13 years we have tested, but for us it doesn't matter if there's one trade on or 5 trades on at the same time. We let the data do the talking, and if we see it works, then we're happy with that.
I think it's fascinating that someone relatively new to the market has early on caught on to the fact that the mental game and mindset were a significant part of Edge that needed to be nurtured and developed. No, one observation and a question. The question is, well, where in your learnings did that come from? The fact that you twigged early on that mental game was really, really important. And also just the sense of you sort of shifting from manual towards systematic sort of automated type of trading. And of course, the observation I have is, in a way, that was giving you balance. The fact that you could kind of have space to do other things, but this stuff was still, seeking out market opportunity for you. And I sense that gave you balance. But the big question there is, so how did you come about? Did you work it out yourself that mental game and mindset was important, or did you come across a fantastic podcast like one of ours, or did you pick it up in a book? Where did that come from? Because that is quite rare for someone that's only been in the market a short while.
Yes. First of all, please allow me to elaborate just half a minute on Steve's previous question with maximum number of trades. We do have, so we don't have a maximum number of trades that we are allowed to be in, but we know based on all our statistics that this is the max drawdown for our system for over this 10 or 15 years period. And if we hit that max drawdown, that's our threshold for closing down the system, and then go in and figure out what is wrong. Is it the market? Is it our strategy or whatever? So that's kind of a risk as well. So a philosophy to risk. So that's kind of where we go in and see, okay, if there's too many trades that has lost, then we have a risk limit there. To answer your question, Mark, about where this part of the mental game came in, it's an interesting one, because when I started out manually trading back in 2015, I read a book, and this was a book that was recommended to me by my online mentor at that point, right? And I know a lot of traders are familiar with this book. And this author, I think we can plug him because he's a legend in the game. He's called Mark Douglas, and it's his book Trading in the Zone. At that time, I thought, I was just starting out trading, and I read his book, and I thought, yeah, it was amazing, and there's so many good points here. And I thought, like, consciously, rationally, I understood what he said. It was some very important points, and I thought I had understood it. I took notes and I read it 2 times again. The second time I read it, I was like, that was like a year after I read it the first time. I was like, oh, okay, there's actually some things here I didn't understand the first time, but now I do understand because I have actually experienced these things. And over the years now, I have read that book around the 6 or 7 times now, because each time I read the book, there was just new things I discovered about myself based on the experiences that I have had in the market. And then I could apply whatever Mark Douglas he said in that book. And I would recommend everybody, out there, if they haven't read that book and they are traders, aspiring or experienced, please go read that book, because it's such an amazing book. And the more you read it, the more you'll get out of it. Anyway, Mark Douglas, reading his book led me down the line of digging into more of his content. He has some great content out there. So I was basically learning from a very, very generous human being that I've never met before, but that I'm very grateful for, because I really took in his content and all his learnings about mindset, and then I put them into practice. Every day going over his content and put it in when I was sitting in front of the charts, seeing and rereading what he said and see, how it works to adopt his philosophy. And from there on, I just, read. I'm a big reader, so I'm reading a lot from great traders, both from a technical point of view, but especially also from a mindset point of view. So I'm always learning and trying to improve in that way. So that's why how I came about learning about the mental side of things. Actually, if we should reveal that to the listeners as well, years ago, I was attending a conference where Steve was actually one of the presenters, and I have to give a shout out to Steve here, because it was a great presentation, and his view on how to trade really inspired me as well to listen to your episodes as well, and dig into the content Steve had, and that has helped my mindset a lot as well.
Well, there you go. Doesn't the world work in a peculiar way? Great, and I think lots of lessons. I keep learning. Never assume you know everything, because you don't, and really having that curiosity is super important, because we meet people that have just gone stale. We meet people that just think they've got it and that's it, and off you go. But actually, you can never know the market, but you can definitely try to pick up things that might just help sort of smooth the journey. And during that journey, I imagine that you might have come across pain every now and then. Something happened, and with a bad trade, or maybe the system froze and all hell was about to break loose, and you've dropped money on that. But when pain turned up, and of course that's a function of the mental game and mindset. What was your way of dealing with that? Did you have a way of dealing with it?
Yes. So there's different ways to deal with it, basically. But what I've another thing that I've been studying a lot over the years has been something called stoicism. It's an old philosophy where you can gain a lot from. It has nothing to do per se about trading, but it's about how you deal with life. And one of the main, put it very simplified, ways of explaining one of the main theories in stoicism is that you have to really put into your head that you should only focus on those things that you can actually control, and then also the things that matter to you. That's what you should focus on. If you can't control it, then you shouldn't put energy and time into it and be frustrated about it, because it's out of your hands. And in the markets, we all know, basically, if you have followed the processes that you have been spending years on refining, if you have followed your processes, let's say put on the trade, put in the stop loss, put in the profit target, whatever, then the rest is out of your hands. If you then lose, if the internet connection goes, if your computer crashes, well, yeah, you'll be frustrated maybe right here, but You can't control it. You can only do whatever you have, practiced beforehand, and then follow those processes. And it sounds so easy to say. It's definitely not easy when you're in this situation. But lessons from, for instance, stoicism, or from all the books I've read, and all the materials and so on, that's what have really been helpful to me. And a second thing I would like to put in, and now we go a little bit outside trading as well, has also been something that has helped me a lot, has been doing meditation and mindfulness. And it maybe sounds a little bit hairy-fairy to some people, but how it helps in your trading has been immense for me. Because what you learn with meditation and mindfulness is that you learn to see, one of the things you learn is to be aware, and you learn to see yourself from the outside, a little bit like if you're seeing yourself from up top, and looking down on yourself. And when you're able to do that, then you're able to catch yourself when, before you get frustrated, or before you go on a on a losing streak, and you do a little bit of stupid things and so on, right? You're able to catch yourself doing that. So that is something that has helped me a lot as well. So that's kind of some I wouldn't say tactics, but there's some things that I'm using every day.
Yeah, really important. I think, those that have listened to this will know my particular interest in mindfulness. I'm actually now deputy chair of the British Association of Mindfulness. I've got a bigger
Yes.
purpose job that's come about, but as well as doing this. But I think you're right to see it as a superpower. It's, as I described to many people, you suddenly realise that you were walking around in a black and white world, looking at listening to things in mono, when you suddenly take up mindfulness and realise there's HDMI, colour, and Dolby sound out there, and you've just not been paying attention to it. And of course, you translate that into awareness of market and the freedom of ridiculous levels of creativity that spur from it as well, whilst also managing yourself through the good, the bad, and the ugly, which will no doubt be out there. But you can walk towards the good, the bad, and the ugly in a far more comfortable way if you have the protection from a self-management system, which is essentially what mindfulness will give you. So I think we're very grateful that someone that's still young in years is still seeing that as really, really important. That's a big lesson from us to many people out there, that look at what the young people are doing, guys. The young people know this is valuable, and they're already building it into their agenda as being part of their edge.
Yeah.
So big lesson for people that perhaps are just saying, "Oh, don't do that. That doesn't sound too right." But actually, it's a superpower.
And even I would say for people who maybe have a hard time with mindfulness or meditation initially, then another thing I can say, like a very concrete thing, if people want to know what to do when they get frustrated or when they get a little bit down, what I also do, like every day, just, I know it's a cliche again, but please remember to take care of your health. Go do a workout, or go for a long walk, or get some fresh air. It sounds so basic, but it really helps just to get out there. I do that every day to get some workout in the one or the other way. Take care of yourself. It can't only be sitting in front of the screen for 16 hours a day and then not remembering yourself. Take care of yourself and your health, and that will benefit you a lot in your trading as well.
No, fantastic, great stuff there. And yeah, there is, it's interesting because you've raised how there is so much more to being productive as a trader. From there's this thing that we do, which takes the intellect and knowledge, and allows us to bring that together. And then there's the management of yourself, because you're the person doing it. That's what alpha mind is. Alpha mind is, how can you bring the best of yourself to this job? How can you help yourself be more productive? How can you support your almost development of your mental capital? How can you understand this really complex world, which is markets? And how can you survive that journey? You mentioned something really interesting in the beginning about how long it takes to succeed at this job, to succeed at trading. myself and Mark have had many thousands of hours of conversations with people doing this job, very close personal conversations. And we've both been ourselves in the jobs for many years and been through our own personal battles. And it's an evolving journey for everyone. Yet some people will find it a lot quicker than others. And there's a lot of luck involved in that. You talked about finding a trading way that matches your personality. Now, if you can walk in and find a trading way that matches your personality on day one, fantastic. That journey is going to be probably a lot shorter. But the chances of that are really remote. Really, it's a real long shot. And then, even if you do, you still need to be mentored into it. To think that you've got what it takes from day one is just ridiculous. And I think most people fail, not because they don't have the potential to be good traders, but they do something which is almost intuitive in that they commit their resources. Everyone comes to this with limited resources. So let's say you've given up your job and you've got a $50,000 pool of savings that you've built up, and you think you could do this job, and how long is that $50,000 going to last? Because it's going to be multiple years before you're earning an income from this. And
Yes.
most people burn through their money before they've even got close to being good enough to survive on it.
Yeah.
It's that analogy I use with sport, and I always think there's certain sports, certain one-to-one sports, which are great analogies for trading. Golf is one of them. Boxing is another one, possibly the one that I think is the most apt. And tennis. Now, if you decided, and obviously you would always decide at a young age, but if you decided that you wanted to take up those sports and you wanted to commit your time and energy to them and build a career in them, well, it's going to be 5 years, 6 years before you're even at the stage where you might be ready to go semi-pro. And that's if you're really good. That's if you've committed yourself every single day to getting better. And this is what happens with trading. It is a multi-year journey. And most people will burn through their capital well before that. And those people that go into tennis or into boxing will be mentored and coached by great people that have been there before. You cannot do it on your own. And I hear you talk about it. You've done courses, you signed up for, you've read books. Mark Douglas has got some fantastic books out there, and was a great influence. I should add the late Mark Douglas, sadly, a great influence on many traders and still is today. People somehow think they can do it on their own. It's just mistaken. I don't think, even though I was a trader for close on to 25 years, I don't think I really found myself as a trader till about 13 years into my career. And I was fortunate. Yeah. I was employed. I worked in a bank, and I managed. At times I thrived. At times I was hanging on. But you have an income. You're fortunate enough. You're being paid to do it. It's not the same sort of trading as a retail trader who has to eat what they kill. And often you're in a market making role, which again is a very different form of trading. But I think you've really captured that in what you said at the beginning.
Yes, and I wanted, if I can chip in on what you said there, going back to you spoke about boxing or football or whatever, right? The passion you have for that and how many years it takes, Steve. If I should give, if our listeners should think about a way, like consider if they will actually succeed in this industry, then a good way to think about it is that they should get the philosophy. If they have ever in their childhood, if they went to, could be dancing or football or baseball or whatever it be, right? If they remember back to the times they were 5 or 6 years old, 7 years old, they remember that passion they had. They at that age, they were never in it to make money. They were in it because they had fun with their friends, because they thought we are having a great time here. It's a great process. We are just doing it because we love doing it. If people can find that's if people can find that same passion today when they are 20, 30, 40, 50 years old for trading, then they are much, much more likely to succeed, because it's exactly that passion you need. Because when you have that passion, you're in it not for the outcome, but for actually the process of doing it. Another way to look at it that our listeners can reflect on is actually when they are a little bit older now, they can ask themselves, because this is my experience, right? This has come from my own experience. If I look back and I should ask myself a question now, when I was beginning, it would be this: Jacob, if you were to spend 10 to 12 hours per day, 5 to 6 days per week, for the next 5, 6, 7 years without getting paid, and even some days you have to go to quote unquote work and you are losing money for 5 to 6 years, would you still do that? And when I started out, my answer would probably have been, what are you thinking about? That it'll never take that much time. But today I'm looking back and thinking, if I get that answer today, I'll say definitely I'll do that, because it's my passion for trading and the growth that comes with it. But if people can answer yes to that question from the beginning, then they are quite not sure, but they have a really, really big chance of succeeding. If their answer is no, then there's no harm in saying, okay, maybe trading is not for me, because this is what will happen for most people. They'll spend so much time without getting paid and even losing money going to work every day.
Yep. And don't tell your wife you're not getting paid for 7 years.
Yep.
That's a difficult one to explain. We'll return to the podcast shortly. The Alphaman podcast is sponsored by the Society of Technical Analysts, the STA. The STA provide world-beating technical analysis education programs and offer outstanding membership services. Alphaman podcast listeners can obtain a 10% discount on the cost of their excellent home study course and home study course with a diploma package. To find out more about this offer, go to our website alpha-mind.net or see the link in the episode description. Now back to the podcast. There's a couple of things which you mentioned earlier on which I just want to touch upon. You talked about stoicism. It's a fantastic philosophy to have, and I think many of the people that I would say I've known in this industry who have succeeded have often without even realizing it adopted a stoic approach to this job, to markets, to focusing on what you can do and shutting out the noise of what you can't do or what gets in the way. I don't know if you heard the episode we did with Ben Aldridge last year.
Yes, I remember that. I remember his name. Yeah, I remember his name.
Yeah, and what brought me to Ben was that the stoicism is almost about, that was the name of his book, and that's what I picked up and read, and then thought I must ask him to come on the show. And it's about, the book is called Being Comfortable, Being Uncomfortable. And that is the very essence of trading. You know, every single day you're gonna be uncomfortable at times. And if you can't handle that, if you're allowing that to throw you out, if you're allowing that to own your decisions and your behaviors, you're not going to make it in this job.
Exactly. It's very true. And I remember that book now when you mentioned it. It was actually one I picked up after he was on your show. And there's a lot of great books on stoicism as well. You know, if people are interested, feel free to reach out to me, and I'll be happy to, send you a few recommendations. But you're absolutely right about what you say, and the point that you say there, Steve, is that there's so many of these points within stoicism that you can use not only in trading, but also outside trading in your life as well.
Yeah, yeah, no, I mean, absolutely. And so there was another point you said, and I don't want to dwell on it too much, but you talked about the value of meditation and mindfulness. And
Yeah.
I'm going to use this to throw back to Mark, because what he does in that space is very special, and it's quite unique as well. I think a lot of people don't fully understand how it can benefit you and how it can help you. So I'm going to bring you in here, Mark, and maybe you can talk about it, and perhaps talk about that there's a lot of people I don't think who are doing it right, which is why I kind of want to bring you in here.
Well, the it is the interesting point. I think, Jacob sort of also referred to the fact that if you don't want to be doing meditation, then get out and into nature and just be in nature. And I think the point around mindfulness is that very often we might be out in nature, but we're thinking about the crappy day we've had trading whilst we're out in nature. And I think the whole point of mindfulness is just to, wherever you are, just be there. So if you get out into nature, just be in nature. And it's really as simple as if you tune into your thoughts, you've not tuned into your senses. But if you can tune into your senses, these thoughts, they won't disappear because they're going on all the time, but they become very, very low in the way that they distract you, to the point that they don't distract you by tuning into your senses. And the brain can't tune into your senses and tune into thoughts at the same time. So mindfulness is really about immersing yourself through your senses in wherever you are, be it outside or be it inside, when you're actually just tuning into you as you breathe and, noticing, the internal movements of the body as you breathe, and that's your focus. And then bringing your focus back to that if you drift off and start thinking about the crappy trade of 2 hours ago. So it's about attention. It's about awareness.
Yeah.
It's simple. It's not complex. It's a way of being rather than just this go and meditate. So there's a lifestyle element to it. But it's a higher level of consciousness, and having a conscience about yourself and your relationship with others as well. So, like I say, it's the sort of superpower for the age, as it were. But an awful lot of it is, go to an MBCT course down the local library and learn about how to manage depression and recurring depression, which won't necessarily give you, for those of us without depression, it does put people off because it's kind of like a quasi treatment for a real problem. And so mindfulness is about finding your own way of taking time to look after yourself. If people want more specific information, they of course can contact us through AlphaMind, because we can build courses based upon that. But there is this myth out there. It's kind of thought to be a bit soft. It's thought to be a bit left field. It's a little bit huggy, a little bit, something that perhaps men don't want to walk towards because it doesn't feel right. It feels a bit like a yoga class. Well, it's not. If we got special forces in the US doing it, then it's something a bit more than just a yoga class. So I think it is about understanding that the conversation is starting to understand what mindfulness is, and we're getting rid of the stigma, because if it is this way of just being like a super better connected version of you, then it's something that we should all be paying attention to. So, and I'm delighted that Jacob has adopted it, and we've learned from some of our global workshops we've been doing for a very large corporate that certainly the young people almost seem to be expecting this to be provided as a resource. I think it's built into the way they learn early. So I think there's an expectation of the young to look at the mental game as part of their fabric, to look at the need to have this self-care around self-management from a mental perspective and not just a physical perspective. So it's really, really important that Jacob has, sort of proven the fact that, for those that know, for those that pursue it, yeah, very interesting things can happen. And it does give you a very interesting protective layer, that surrounds you as you face uncertainty and pain. And of course, that's exactly what, we've moved on for, I think black swans are now normal in markets. So I think we're now looking for red swans, so the whole world's gone a bit bonkers, but you kind of need this protection. Otherwise, you're
Yes.
kind of venturing into this drama, very, very exposed. And the place that gets hit first, of course, is your mental state. So yeah, thank you for that, Jacob.
I fully agree with what you said there, Mark. It's so many benefits of mindfulness and meditation, and on top of that, I want to mention that from my experience, as you said, to put it just simply, like meditation, mindfulness is about awareness, right? Becoming aware. At the same time, it's becoming aware with kindness and compassion. So not just being aware, but being kind and being compassionate. So both towards yourself, but at the same time towards the world and other people. So many people think that people I've spoken to think that mindfulness or meditation is a little bit self-centered because you're just focusing on yourself. In my eyes, it's not fully the truth, because via meditation and mindfulness, you learn to be compassionate and to be kind, and that actually, goes to other people as well, and goes to the world as well. So if you can become aware and do that with kindness and compassion, then it will actually not only benefit yourself, but you will actually also help out people who might be in need.
Yeah, absolutely. And certainly the research backs the fact that, compassionate mindfulness, as soft it may sound, okay,
Yep.
because it kind of
Yep.
sounds soft, yeah, the most potent method of mindfulness, because as you say, it's about you picking up on the awareness of others and your relationship with them, and respect and all of that, but also having respect for yourself.
Yeah. So not only does it help, in my experience, not only did it help my trading immensely, but it also helped me outside trading with
Absolutely.
my own life and my relation to other people.
Wonderful stuff.
Can I just sort of jump in here a bit, because it's been this has been fascinating in terms of this journey into trading, and how you get into it, how you sustain yourself in it, how you develop yourself into it. Um, there's probably a lot of elements here that people are thinking, I hadn't thought about these things or hadn't considered them. What would you say the three things, and I'm just putting you on the spot here, Jacob, that have been the most important aspects of your journey into trading?
Great question. Yeah, you are putting me on the spot, but I will see if I can find some. Okay, so three things. Okay, so in order, unordered priority here. One thing is definitely, again, it's a teaching from Mark Douglas, so people can find it from him. It's not something I've invented. I'll give all credit to Mark Douglas. It's the change of mindset, going from this one trade is live or die to see trading as part of a bigger whole after 100 trades, 200 trades, 300 trades. If you change that perspective to say this one trade is only part of a bigger portfolio of 300 trades that I will trade, then one losing trade will not mean anything in your life, because it's such a tiny part of all the trades you'll take within this period of time or whatever, right? Having that change of mindset was something that helped me immensely with my trading and my emotions. So that's kind of on the mental side of things. On the technical side of things, I would say trying a lot of things out, working, like changing again the mindset that this is a long-term game, and then saying, okay, it's okay that I try a lot of things, different kind of strategies and so on, and then really finding, like asking myself and feeling in myself, asking myself, what kind of strategy actually fits my personality? And when I first answered that question honestly, then things start to click really well. The last thing, a third thing, would probably be something that it's a little bit, not a specific thing, but it's always keep learning and developing. If you always read books or listen to podcasts or watch videos, you'll get inspired by other people, and you'll keep develop, and you kind of like not ever grow stale. It's so important in this market, because if you first grow fixed on you want to do this and that, then there will certainly be a time where it will stop work, and then you will kind of not have your edge in the market any longer. So keep developing and keep learning, and always be open to new ideas and suggestions. It doesn't mean that you have to jump from strategy to strategy all the time, but be open, and be open-minded to learning, both from a technical point of view, but also from a mindset point of view.
Okay, fantastic. And can you tell our audience a little bit about your business and what you do? Because I think you have an external service as well.
Yes, we do. So me and my business partner have been trading with automated trading systems for a long time. At one point, we got some really great results. We spoke with people in the industry about it, and some people were kind of like just mentioning briefly, okay, you might have something going on there. Why wouldn't you try to help other people with their trading, if you can actually lease out the systems that you're actually doing? And then we thought, okay, yeah, that might be a good idea. So based on that, we just started to discuss it, if we wanted to do it, and how we should do it, and so on. And then we set up our business, Statera Trading, that we have today, where we take the best automated trading systems that we have spent thousands of hours on developing, and we take them, and we lease out these. We have plans to lease out more systems. Today we have, in particular, we have decided only to have one. Currently, we trade more systems ourselves, but currently we have one. And that is a system that we will soon have a beta launch for, and that's what we do today. So we wanted to help people in the same situation as us, where either they don't have time for trading, either they felt slave to the chart, sitting 12 hours in front of their screen. They wanted have more time for friends and family and holiday or whatever. They had too many emotions and so on. So we want to give them more freedom and time back by giving them what we experience with automated trading, that it can actually be done, even though that you're not in front of the charts.
Okay, so is that, are they purchasing your system, or are they coming to you to develop a system? How exactly does that work?
Yes, so we have built the system so they don't have to develop anything.
Right.
The only thing they have to do, they will visit our site and they'll read about our system. And if they are interested in that, then they rent it or lease it, whatever you want to call it, on a monthly basis. So basically, it
Right.
works very simply. It's very simple, a monthly subscription, where we trade this system on our account, and then they buy this subscription, and then they will hook up their own trading account wherever they trade. They will hook it up to our system, and then as soon as our system get into a trade, get out of a trade, take a profit, their trading account will do exactly the same. So they don't need to
Right.
do anything as soon as they have bought the subscription. The only thing is they will of course connect their trading account to our trading account, but that's the only thing. And after that, they don't have to do anything.
Right.
That's
Okay.
basically it. We have done all the pre-work of testing and developing and trying all kind of things out that you can ever imagine, and then they just sign up to that basically.
Right. And do they commit a certain amount of capital, or are they in charge of that? Can they increase that and decrease that as they go along?
Yes, they can. They are fully in charge of how much capital they have in their trading account. We don't have any access to that. They decide if they want to start out with 5K or 50,000K or 500,000K. It's totally up to them. It's also up to them. We of course have some recommendations. We tell them we only risk 0.3 on our trades, and this is all our results are based on that we risk so much. If you want to change that to only 0.1 or you want to risk 1%, it's fully up to you, but we can only show you what we have got from our results. So they are also in charge of that as well. So they're fully in charge of their own trading account. But of course, we recommend them to follow how we did it, because that's how we can kind of show them that this is the result we got based on X, Y, and Z.
Okay, fantastic. And how can they find out about you? Where if you could, we'll put the details on the podcast notes for this episode, so don't worry about that. But very quickly, where can they find out about you?
So people, first of all, I'll be happy to speak with people. So reach out if you want to have a good conversation. But they are more than welcome to visit our website, which is staturiatrading.com. And if people are a little bit in doubt about if automated trading are for them and algos and all of this, then I've created a small guide for them, so they can visit staturiatrading.com/EA guide, and then they will come to one of our pages and they can sign up and get a assessment where it's just a fun little assessment where they answer some questions and then they get a score. So kind of like a not a quiz, but just like get a score and then see, okay, is automated system for me? And then, if it's for you, then you'll get a high score. And if it's not, then you'll get some areas where you can maybe do some research and stuff like that. So please feel free to go to that site and then, sign up and get your own assessment.
Fantastic. And there's something I just want to mention before we wrap up about kind of the what you're doing, because I think this is an important part of trading when you work for yourself. Is that I often tell people, try and have some other supplementary source of income if you can. You talked about going 7 years without an income. Even when you do get an income, and it can be very large at times, it can also be very uncertain. And you don't want to become a prisoner to that. Even the best traders have negative years or long runs without any performance. And it's very easy to become despondent and then start interfering with your process when that happens. So, whatever it is, if I could explain, if you work for a company, you get paid a salary. If you work for a fund, you get paid a salary, which means that they do that partly because they don't want people gambling and taking crazy bets. They want them to stay on process. Now, if you work for yourself, you don't have a salary. There is no salary to trading. But if you can find another supplementary form of income, such as you're doing, Jacob, but I know some people do mentoring, some people do run training courses, some have newsletters, some provide analysis. It's a great way of providing that, keeping, as we say, keeping the wolf away from the door and keeping some sort of steady income going. So I think it's really good, but it's an important point to make. Was that any part of your thinking when you did this?
Yeah, definitely, and of course I want to say, like, some people might be faster to make money in this industry. Some might be 3 years, 5 years. Some people it might take 10 years. It might be different, but they should just from the beginning have the mindset that it can take a long time before I actually start to make a living from that. And in that time, I should have a backup. And that was something I had from the very beginning, where I also said, okay, I have to have some other things. Then I had my long-term investment, but that was not really something that I would live off from month to month, because that was with a long-term view. But then I have been running other businesses as well, where I could make as you say, Steve, a income from a stable income from that as well, while still developing as a trader in my early days, and kept improving, and see where you have some skill set you can utilize. It's so important, not just for money, but also actually going back to the mindset again. It's very, very good for your mindset that you are not 100% like in front of the screen 16 hours per day because you don't have anything to do. If you have something else to do, you can put your mind to that when you do it, and then get away from saying getting away, but yeah, kind of like get your mind to some other places and get a little bit of a kind of like a free time from trading when you do that. So it also helps with that as well. So definitely something I would recommend people who start out trading. Make sure that you have another income in one or the other way.
Well, listen, it's quite rare to find such a wise head on young shoulders, but I think we've discovered that indeed Jacob Holm does have such wise thinking, such mature thinking for his age, and I think that's quite remarkable. So I think as we sort of close this podcast, have a strategy that fits your personality. Absolutely. Realistic mindset. Absolutely. Focus on the process, not the outcome. It's kind of like the inner workings of the Alpha Mind course that we're starting to reveal. And don't stop learning. Try it, have a go, and have no regrets. And I think really just every now and then get back to being a kid. Have a bit of fun. Because you said if you're 18 hours a day in front of a screen, that's not fun. So have statura in your life, balance in your life.
Exactly. That's going back to our name, as you presented in the start. That was one of the reasons why we started Statura Trading as well, because we want ourselves, after me and my co-founder have experienced being slaves to the charts, and we wanted more balance. So that's why we created Statura to create balance for ourselves, of course, first. But then when we started to offer it as a business or do the business, we wanted to give other people balance in their life as well by giving them back some time, if they could use the way that we have, use our experience, and then use automated system, maybe not instead of the manual trading, but it can also be a part of it. It doesn't have to be either or, it can be both. And that's what we aspire to do.
Well, on that note, I think it's a proper place to end this podcast. So Jacob, many thanks indeed. We wish you well, and of course all your contact details are out there for folk to come seek you. And that was a ridiculously deep conversation for someone that's been trading since 2015. So very well done, you. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. I want to say thank you to you guys. You are truly generous with your knowledge and everything you put out there for free on the podcast to traders all around the world. I'm grateful for what you have been doing and for being part of your podcast today. So thank you very much. You should really, really, appreciate yourself for what you're doing. Thanks for giving back to the community.
Thank you, and we really appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you for listening today. We would like to thank our podcast sponsorship partners, the Society of Technical Analysts, the STA. You can find out more about our sponsors at our website, alpha-mind.net, or see the link in the episode description. The Society of Technical Analysts, the STA, provide well-beaten technical analysis education programs. Alpha Mind podcast listeners can obtain a 10% discount off the cost of their excellent home study course. We hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, we'd appreciate it if you could leave a friendly review or provide a rating for the show on whichever podcast service you use. You can find out more about us at our website, alpha-mind.net. You can follow us on Twitter at AlphaMind101 and at AlphaMind102. And you can connect with me, Stephen Goldstein, and my co-host, Mark Randall, on LinkedIn. You can also follow us and can check back over some of our past episodes on the alphamindpodcast.com. We wish you the best of luck in the markets. Have a good week.